Hello from Columbus, Ohio. I'm Scott Foltz alongside Jason Dye. Those stories plus, two SEC teams try to return to winning ways, and the leader of the Big 12 has a bear of a challenge.
And the race for the Big Ten tightens up with two games that will have a major impact on division champions. All that coming up after this. You're watching Sports Talk on CFC, so stick around.
Last week, we expected a close game between Texas A&M and Auburn, but the Aggies just mauled the Tigers. Both teams could only get 3 in the first quarter, and the second quarter was scoreless. But after the half, it was all Texas A&M. The Aggies kicking 3 in the third and finding the end zone twice in the fourth, all while holding the Tigers scoreless. 20-3 Texas A&M. Auburn had been looking good despite early season loss to Penn State and taking a beating from Georgia, and who hasn't. But the Tigers then won 2 in a row, beating Arkansas and handing Ole Miss their only other loss besides Alabama. The Aggies have not lost since beating the defending national champion Crimson Tide back in Week 6. Clearly, they found something.
Yeah, they did. And Auburn been kind of hit and miss. I thought this was going to be a closer game, but Texas A&M found a way to light them up in the second half.
Absolutely. I thought the Auburn would show us a little more too. But
Yeah, especially with the way Bo Nix had been playing. I mean, I really thought it was going to be a lot more to that game.
A game we thought would be a blowout turned out a bit closer than anyone expected. You called Cincinnati over Tulsa 48-21, and Tulsa managed to pick up 20, but their defense played a man's game and held the Bearcats to 28 points and 390 total yards to Tulsa's 446. Cincinnati's 3 turnovers didn't help them any, but let's give credit where credit's due. The team I called a dribble last week reminded us that they are the Golden Hurricanes, even if it wasn't a loss.
Yeah, and Cincinnati really needed to go into this game and completely destroy Tulsa. Right now, a lot of people questioning their ranking up there in the college football playoff, and right now they've got to right this ship because they've got to put their foot on the gas. Because right now it just doesn't look like a solid playoff team.
No.
Do they deserve to be here? Yeah, but right now they need to be wiping the floor with everybody.
Well, it's a good thing South Bend is landlocked because the Navy did not fare well there. The midshipmen only scoring twice, both field goals, and only threw 3 times, connecting just once for 18 yards total passing. The Irish scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal in the second and did it again in the fourth to sink the Navy 34-6.
Yeah, and Navy not really known for its passing attack, obviously. A lot of them, I think the only one with a passing attack is Air Force, go figure. And but Irish take care of business. So
there you are. If you're keeping track, you may have noticed both games we called to be close turned into blowouts, and games we called to be blowouts turned out to be close ones. The Buckeyes went into Lincoln and took care of business, but the Huskers made them earn it. Neither team scored until the second quarter, Ohio State finding the end zone twice, Nebraska once, and both teams kicking for 3. After the half, Nebraska scored 1 touchdown, and that was the end for their offense, but their defense kept Ohio State out of the end zone for the rest of the game, the Buckeyes having to settle for 3 more times. Final score 26-17 Buckeyes. Nebraska's defense carried them here, picking off C.J. Stroud twice and holding Henderson to just 92 total yards.
Yeah, Scott Frost continues to have this Nebraska team prepared. He's losing close games. He just now, I don't know if you saw, but he actually got re-signed by Nebraska.
I did see.
He had to take a reduced salary and all that. But
as 3 of his assistant coaches were tossed.
Right, and give credit where credit's due. Nebraska gave Ohio State a fight where I kind of felt like Ohio State coming off last week would really just open it up against Nebraska. That didn't happen. They seemed to be having an issue with getting in the end zone. I don't really know if it was really Ohio State or if it just teams preparing for Ohio State's offense better. I mean, it's hard to tell. But, my hat's off to Nebraska for a great fight.
Last week had more than a few upsets. First off, UNC is better known for their dominance on the hardwood than the gridiron, but the Tar Heels took down the top team in the ACC, handing Wake Forest their first loss in an offensive slugfest. 58-55 Tar Heels, each team putting up more than 540 yards of total offense. these two teams beat each other silly.
Absolutely, and it's not like the ACC had a contender really in the college football playoff, but my gosh, I mean, Wake Forest was looking really strong there.
They had just broken into the top 10.
Right, and now just here comes North Carolina and Matt Brown and bink, and it's all over with.
Mm-hmm. Switching gears from offense to defense, Illinois and Minnesota each held each other to under 300 yards and only 3 scores for the game. The Illini scored 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground and 1 in the air, while keeping the Gophers out of the end zone until the 4th, and they missed the point after. Minnesota needed to go 98 yards and a 2-point conversion to tie, but an Illinois pick with less than a minute to play sealed this one.
Yeah, and we look at Minnesota. They've had a lot of problems, especially after losing Mo Ibrahim and now another running back. There's not a lot of things going well for Minnesota. But Illinois has been that up and down team, and Bielema, who I've criticized openly, he's found a way to get this team ready to fight, and to beat Minnesota, I think, was actually a big accomplishment.
Absolutely. Another great back and forth, this time in the Big 12, saw TCU go over Baylor. The Bears scored a single touchdown in each quarter, while the Horned Frogs were shut out of the end zone in the second. But it was the 3 field goals in that quarter that proved to be the difference maker in this one. 30-28 TCU because of the field goals. I think for this week, TCU's kicker is the campus hero.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I didn't see this coming.
No.
Come on. It was TCU. TCU's been just there. I mean, they exist in the Big 12, and then Baylor just, I think the guy for TCU threw for like 460 yards or something like that, something crazy. And Baylor's got to face Oklahoma this week, which we'll get to. But it's like, you just never know who's going to be who.
Nope. Any given Saturday.
That's right.
As I've heard someone say.
That is.
Another close one in the SEC, Arkansas taking down Mississippi State as the Hogs continue to recover from their midseason slump. The fourth quarter saw the most action as both teams scored twice, the Bulldogs even taking back the lead with 2:22 to go. But 2 minutes is an eternity in football, and the Hogs drove down the field, scoring with 22 seconds remaining and went for 2 even though they had the lead. This time they got it, and a 40-yard attempt by Mississippi State to send it into overtime hooked left. Final score 31-28 Arkansas.
Well, apparently Arkansas is back.
Yep.
So, here we go. Arkansas started off strong and then they had their little slump. And now, you're just right back to it, right back to winning again. And it's amazing. I was actually really happy to see that.
And they went for 2 against Ole Miss, if you remember, and it didn't work out for them, and they ended up losing that game by a point. This time they had the lead, went for 2 anyway, got it, and that's what would have forced a tie. Had Mississippi State kicked that field goal, it would have forced an overtime rather than a Mississippi State win.
Yeah.
But again, it hooked left, and it was academic anyway. But that was some good play calling on Arkansas's part this time, going for 2 at the right time for the right reasons.
Yep, way to go, Arkansas.
Absolutely. An upset no one saw coming, the mighty Spartans suffered their first defeat in Lafayette as Purdue held Michigan State to a single touchdown in each quarter, while the Boilermakers put up 4 of their own touchdowns. But it was Mitchell Finneran's foot that won the day, going 4 for 4, the longest one a 29-yarder, to give Purdue an 11-point lead and the win, and a lot of momentum as they head into Columbus to face the Buckeyes. There are several articles out there saying the Buckeyes escaped with a victory in Nebraska due to how close it was. November is not the time to be escaping. Ohio State plays both of these teams, Purdue this week and Michigan State next week. Should Ryan Day and the Buckeyes be worried right now?
Purdue has been labeled the giant killer, the giant slayer. I mean, there's a ton of names you can give Purdue right now. I called them earlier in the season against Notre Dame. They didn't get it done. But Iowa, now Michigan State, and now they're rolling into Columbus with a lot of confidence, knowing that Ohio State isn't playing their best ball. They're still winning, but not playing. I don't really think it's going to be worrisome. I think it's going to be a great game. We're going to get to it, but I think Ryan Day, he knows they got to be consistent. They got to be up to the task and into the challenge because Purdue's going to come in here swinging.
Yeah. Great segue to this week, as our first game we'll look at is that Ohio State-Purdue matchup. Anything you'd care to add?
Well, what just said it. Purdue's playing with a high amount of confidence right now. They've got a lot of swagger. They know they have what it takes to win. And especially in Columbus right now, there's a lot of talk. Yeah, we're not worried about it. But I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
At this point in the season, you need to be
worried.
worried about everything.
Yeah, I mean, you got a team like Purdue that's coming in. They, like I said, a lot of swagger. I think Purdue's gonna be able to put up good pass numbers against the Ohio State secondary. But the one thing is, it's a one-dimensional offense. Unless they magically find a running game, I don't really think Purdue's going to be a big-time threat. I think they're going to put up some numbers, but on the other side, Ohio State has got to show up all the offensive guns. They've got to use every weapon. We've seen the tight end come in. He's been playing a lot, and continue to get. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba the ball. He had a huge week. What 240 yards, 50, on a lot of receptions. I mean, he's great. Olave was kind of hit and miss. He did get that touchdown. Got to start feeding Henderson. Got to get Teague involved. Everybody's got to be involved, and they've got to put the hammer down against Purdue.
All right.
And defensively, I think they're going to be able to get home to O'Connell. Maybe a good key takeaway late in this game.
Turnovers are the key,
as
we've said many times. So you still like the Buckeyes for this one, despite Purdue's winning ways.
Yep. I'm taking Ohio State 37, Purdue 23.
Okay. On to the Big 12 now as Oklahoma takes on Baylor, fresh off the Bears' loss that we discussed earlier. Despite that loss, do you still think Baylor could be the team to finally unseat the Sooners from the top of the Big 12?
I absolutely do. I think after losing to TCU, this team's going to come, play Oklahoma with a chip on their shoulder here. Baylor's got to get the running game going and grind down Oklahoma from the start. I think they really need to keep that Oklahoma offense, Caleb Williams, off the field. And they got to be, when they're on the field, you got to find a way to get to Williams. Williams is going to put up numbers. He's going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. But this Oklahoma defense, I'm finding a little suspect. Baylor's got a decent offense. They got a decent defense. Like I said, I think a little bit of motivation losing to TCU. They know they have to beat Oklahoma. They know it. And I think now, I know a lot of people are calling for Oklahoma to win this game, but I'm not feeling it.
You're going the other way?
I'm going the other way. I like Baylor 37-30.
All right. Down to the SEC as Mississippi State takes on Auburn. Both teams looking to rebound from a Week 10 loss. Both teams very evenly matched.
I am, if there's an SEC game I was going to watch, I'd watch this one this week. I really like it. Bulldogs passing attack continues to grow. I think Auburn's going to have problems with it. Looking to try to contain this Bulldog passing attack. But on the defensive side, the Bulldogs are going to have to find a way to contain Bo Nix. That's going to be hard. I think Auburn might be a little bit edgy as well in this game. Auburn, I think they're going to look to control the clock. Obviously, with the running game, Bo Nix. We've said Bo Nix like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he continues to be the focal point of that offense. But Auburn does have a bit of better offensive balance, I think, in this game.
So you like the Tigers for this one?
Yep. I like it, and I'm calling it a close one, 24-21.
Rounding out this week, a battle for the Big Ten West as Iowa takes on Minnesota. The Hawkeyes and Gophers are in a four-way tie with Wisconsin and Purdue in the Big Ten West, all of them 4-2 in conference play, and three teams are 6-3 overall, Iowa having a one-win edge with 7-2. The Hawkeyes were once the undisputed leaders of this division, and that's a spot they want back. Question is, can they get it, or will the Gophers head to Indy in Week 14?
Minnesota has been so flip-flop from week to week, but they've been good on the road, which makes no sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
Iowa right now has a lot of issues scoring. I don't know what the status for Petrus is. I heard he's had some issues with injuries, so it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be starting at quarterback for Iowa. But Iowa's defense still decent. They still got a good secondary. I think this is just going to be a heck of a grinder. I think these teams are just going to get after each other. They're just going to be hitting each other left and right. I really think the trick plays. I think it's going to come down to trick plays. And, PJ Fleck and Kirk Ferentz are known. Every now and then they'll pull that ace out of their pocket, and they'll show their hand. I think when you're getting into that close games and you're going into the fourth quarter late, and you got to figure out how in the world do I catch my opponent off guard, throw a trick play. Statue of Liberty, flea flicker, whatever. I think it's just going to be a great game to watch, too.
All right. You think the Hawkeyes return to their winning ways?
No. I think P.J. Fleck row the boat Minnesota 23, Iowa 17.
Okay.
And this week, looking at this week's college football playoff rankings, we have some thoughts.
We do.
So obviously, number one, Georgia. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well earned number 1 spot.
Yep. Number 2, Alabama.
Maybe not.
I'm not sold on Alabama. They struggled against LSU. It's just
They struggled against Florida.
yeah.
They lost to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
We haven't forgotten that.
Yeah, we haven't forgotten that, nor are we letting that go.
Nope.
Moving on to number 3, Oregon controls its own destiny.
Yeah.
Now, they play a very interesting game this week. I believe they have Washington State after dark. So 10:30 kickoff. Washington State's known to be that thorn in their side.
10:30 Pacific time or
yeah,
Eastern?
Yeah, Pacific time.
Oh, that is
No,
it.
sorry. Yeah.
If
Eastern.
it's Eastern time, that puts it 7:30
Yeah.
their time, West Coast time.
Right. And then moving on, number 4, Ohio State. We all know what Ohio State has to do. Win.
Just keep winning.
Yep. Number 5, Cincinnati.
Moving up a spot.
Cincinnati, they have to put that hammer down.
Yep.
Now's the time. Keep winning. Number 6, Michigan. Number 7, Michigan State. Now,
Here's where we have some issues.
yeah.
One of those teams beat the other one.
Yeah.
And it isn't the one that was ranked higher that won.
No, I don't understand this. I don't get it. Apparently, the committee knows best. I'm gonna.
No,
a
let's
lot
not
of people
go that far.
Yeah, I'm looking at this like, okay, come on, guys, really? Yeah, this team, Michigan State beat Michigan, but you got it. All right. Number 8, Oklahoma, rightfully so. I think if Baylor is able to beat them, hopefully, because as a Buckeye fan, you want Baylor to beat Oklahoma because that's one less headache out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that. Notre Dame, clearly. They've got, I mean, miracles would have to happen before Notre Dame jumps up in the top 4. And Oklahoma State, who has a shot at beating Oklahoma.
Yep.
I mean, we're still at that. So,
Bedlam series here in a couple of weeks.
yeah, I mean, I think maybe if that happens, if Oklahoma continues to win and all that, I think, if Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma, wins the Big 12 or something like that, something crazy, they flip-flop spots. But, yeah, that's your college football playoff top 10.
Mm-hmm. And we've been noticing something about the SEC schedules at the end of the season.
Yes, we have. Now, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I know about him.
He knows about me.
Yeah, and I'm really confused about something, SEC world. Please tell me why, at the later end of your schedule, you're playing nobodies, tune-ups, cupcakes.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Florida plays Samford, not Sanford, not from Sanford and Son, Samford.
Yeah, not the Sanford Cardinal, pride of the Pac-12, Sam Ford.
Yeah. Why? Alabama plays New Mexico State.
Now, who was the I forget his name. It was a player for the Buckeyes who said that he signed with the Buckeyes versus Alabama because he wanted to get better. You don't get, and he specifically said, you don't get better playing New Mexico State in November.
Right, and you don't. And
no,
I'm trying to figure this out.
This is a manufactured bye week for them to rest up, to go in. Now, they have Arkansas on November 20th, and then the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Arkansas might at least be a real game, but New Mexico State, manufactured bye week.
I don't get it. It's just, what, because you're going to win the game and it counts as a win?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to figure this out here. Like, why aren't you playing in-conference opponents? It's almost as if the conference looks at these teams and they see that in these years, these teams could potentially be strong.
Mm-hmm.
They could potentially be playing for a playoff spot, SEC title, whatever. And they just got to give them that little shoe in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, look, we're just going to give you this. We're going to give you this gift of win. We're going to ensure that you lock your spot, because the committee is going to say, well, they beat them. It's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it can't be all that matters. Michigan State beat Michigan, and Michigan's ranked ahead of them.
Yeah, look at that. And then, I'm noticing a date here.
November 20th.
November 20th. November 20th. Look it up. Look it up. SEC fans, look it up. Just go ahead. Right now. Don't pause this video. Wait till we're finished.
Yeah.
Georgia plays Charleston Southern.
Who?
Heck if I know.
Exactly.
You know who that is?
This is the number 1 team in the country. Possibly, probably, and I would go so far as to say, I think we're looking at the next national champions in the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
And they're playing essentially a high school team at the end of the season.
I mean,
Be better than that, Georgia.
Charleston Southern, they're getting paid a lot of money to go to Georgia and get their tails handed to them.
And that's their final game of the season.
Yeah.
They're going in and hey, congratulations, Charleston Southern seniors. You're going to get crushed on the last football game you'll ever play for us. Good luck in the world.
Have fun.
Yeah.
But why?
I mean, they don't have a chance of a win here.
No, absolutely not. And, looking on, Kentucky. Now, if Kentucky would have continued to win, would have been up there.
Yeah.
Prestige Bowls.
They were undefeated for the first half of the season until they ran into Georgia.
Yeah.
Now they're playing New Mexico State on November 20th.
November 20th.
Again, you don't get better playing New Mexico State in November.
No. And then the next one. What if LSU would have been something this year? 11-20. You know who they play?
UL Monroe.
What? What? These schools just love signing checks? I mean, come on. You should be playing in conference games here. You see the Big Ten doing it. Do you see any Big Ten teams playing cupcakes in November?
Nope.
Yeah, who did we play last game of the season, second last game of the season?
The Buckeyes play Purdue this week, Michigan State next week, and the game the week after that. Michigan, I believe, plays Rutgers. If not this week, it's the week after. Now, that's Rutgers, but it's at least an in-conference game.
Yeah. And, Mississippi State, at one point, talking about top 25, could be going to a decent bowl game, blah, blah, blah.
Had a good showing against Arkansas.
Yeah, but who are they playing on 11-20?
Tennessee State.
Tennessee State.
I've never heard of Tennessee State. I've heard of Tennessee. The Volunteers were once a quality football program. They've been slipped in recent years, but they're still Tennessee.
Come on. And then speaking of the Vols.
Yeah. South Alabama on November 20th.
Alabama. Who?
Exactly.
Okay, but you know what?
Hmm?
Maybe they're champions.
Of what?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Existence? I mean...
And then Texas A&M, the team that knocked out the defending national champions, plays Prairie View A&M on November 20th.
I'm sorry, what?
Who are they?
I don't know.
Now, you had mentioned when we talked about this earlier, this kind of thing isn't going to fly next season when Texas and Oklahoma.
Well, I think it's 2025, I think.
Is it 2025?
Yeah.
Either way, when Texas and Oklahoma move into the SEC, they're going to have to start playing some real games all season long.
Yeah, you can't be doing this. Can't be doing this. I don't get it. I don't get it. But do your thing, SEC, and you justify it by whatever means you feel necessary. But I'm calling you out.
Exactly.
Just calling you out.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for us this week. Join us again next week as we enter the home stretch of 2021. You've been watching Sports Talk on CFC. We'll see you next time.